It's 1930. You're about to spend all your savings, your hard-earned savings in fact, on a new car for the family, a four-seater for the first time. Do you go a little bit down market to the Austin 7, which has been around since 1923, or the newer and slightly more advanced Morris Minor? Now with the Minor, William Morris had said he wasn't planning to crush the Austin 7 off the market, which is quite lucky he had said that because he didn't. But he did go a little further in making a car which is a tiny bit more expensive. It was £125 compared to the £100 of the 7, but gave you a little bit more. Now, at launch there were two versions of the car. There was the four-seater open tourer and this, the four-seat, two-door, fabric-bodied saloon. And it's called fabric-bodied for the simple reason that the body is made of fabric. Some things probably shouldn't need explaining. In fact, the fabric body was so well known, even the birds learnt it, and they would actually peck through the corners to steal the wadding to make nests out of. And in 1929, a coach-built steel-panelled version was launched for £9 more. Now, I'm going to have to lose the coat. It's far too warm, and I feel like Gary from Goodnight Sweetheart. Target reference. I'm keeping the hat though. I like the hat. Now, there was some rivalry between Austin and Morris that had been for a long time. They were both Midlands-based, rich, entrepreneurial, factory car magnate types, and so obviously there was always going to be some rivalry. And the Minor was described as a big car made small. It was a bit of a dig at the 7 with its kind of Y-framed chassis and its single elliptical front spring and other sort of cost-saving measures, whereas this had a proper channel section ladder frame chassis, and it has individual half elliptical leaf springs on all four wheels, so it's far more advanced. I'll be honest, I've always hated these kind of side latch bonnet hinges. They always terrify me I'm going to damage something when I open them. So here we have the Morris Minor's 847cc engine. Originally when it was announced it was going to be a 747 size engine, which was another little dig at Austin, but by the time it actually came to market it had grown to 847, which gave it another horsepower more. Now, shortly before this car went into development, William Morris had personally bought Wolseley, a rival luxury car manufacturer, so he had at his disposal the might and facilities of that luxury car brand, so they developed this little engine for him. So typical of Wolseley engines of the day, it's a single overhead camshaft, taking power through a drive wheel at the front, running down vertically through the magneto. This is quite a nice, clever, advanced engine. A nice, neat distributor, coil ignition, and a single SU carburettor. However, by 1930 they discovered that this was costing a lot to manufacture, it was costing a lot to maintain, and also there tended to be rather poor oil seals around here, so you would spray oil across the whole of the engine bay. So in 1930, Percy Rose, who designed the chassis as well, came up with a simpler side valve head which replaced this top section of the engine, which was much cheaper to make, cheaper to maintain, and didn't leak oil. It was 1 horsepower lower though, at 19 HP. Right, first of all, suicide doors. Oh dear me, it's a little bit tight getting your feet in. Well, it doesn't help if you've got size 11 boots, but they did actually tout the fact that the rear hinges made access into the car easier, although it would have been easier if they carried on the shape of the door a little bit further forward around your toes. Wow! They called these things chummies. It was a nickname for these and Austins and everything else, because you had to be a little bit chummy with everyone else getting in the car. This four-seater has got a 78-inch wheelbase, which, as someone who doesn't do imperial measurements, that's not very big. Elbow room is non-existent. Headroom though is fine, because this is a period of hat wearing, and I believe hat wearing should come back. I'm going to keep on wearing the hat for the rest of this review, so there. I don't want to see any comments about it, apart from what a lovely hat. Things were simple and basic. You have sliding windows, you have a little catch here to lock them in position once you've chosen the place you want to lock them, so they don't slide anywhere else. That is your two-part window operating mechanism. The door handle is this little thingy here, and just looks like a gate pull on the side of the door to get into it. And you do have a little elasticated map pocket, because obviously there was no sat-nav back then. People did carry paper maps, and paper maps would slide in there. You have one wiper, just the one, nothing on the passenger side, so your triangle of doom is more of an acreage of despair. It's vacuum powered. It's actually a vacuum pipe running into the engine bay. Astonishing. You might look at that now and say, how could anyone put up with that? But at the time it was like, wow, I've got a vacuum wiper. If you wanted ventilation or didn't want to use the wipers, you could of course undo the window and push it out forwards. I won't do it right now because it seems reluctant and I don't want to break it. The dashboard is limited to a very small number of things. There's a choke on the far left, push rich pull weak, so it's like a choke in reverse there. You have 3 dials, ampermeter, oil pressure, and speed, which goes up to 60 miles an hour, which the car doesn't. There's only one control on the steering column, which is solid metal and sitting here javelin-like, waiting to spear you in the chest at the earliest opportunity. That's not indicators or lights, that is advanced retard, which is basically the ignition timing, which will be done automatically by a vacuum tube on a newer carburetted car. Then you have a big steering wheel, one nut in the middle. None of the instruments are backlit, so above them, I don't know if this is standard or if this is an aftermarket option, is this little lamp just shining down above the speedometer. We're kind of running out of controls to talk about just here. The gearbox is a 3-speed manual? I thought it was a 4. Maybe it's only 3-speed, oh my word. We'll find out more about that in a second. And there's a fly-off type handbrake. So I have to be ready to give that a good old squeeze and pull to release it and to re-engage it. And finally we have the starter, which you push the foot down on the clutch, as always in any car with safety. Push that to start it. Now here's the fun bit, which I have to admit, when I was given, I was going to say the keys, there is no key. When I got into this car, I was told, don't forget, the pedals are the wrong way around. I thought I was being wound up. They're not. The accelerator is in the middle, the brake is on the right. So it's entertaining. So maybe not a bad idea to drive with your foot rolling between the two, so you don't ever take your foot off the brake. The brakes, incidentally, are cable operated, so we'll have lots of fun there as well. Now for the most important aspect of this road test, the tea shelf. Where is it? There are no cup holders, there's nothing at all really that you could call a tea shelf in this car. So where do I put my cup of coffee? Easy. It's out here on the running board. It's a massive tea shelf and picnic shelf. You can go for a full 3-course meal on there. It's a 3-course meal shelf and there's one on both sides. This is a banquet mobile. Now finally the horn. I saw the klaxon under the bonnet and I want to hear what it sounds like. Oh my word, that's good. Aruga! Oh, I love that. I want to get one fitted to my new car. That's the best thing I've ever heard. Let's have a look in the back before we go off for a rather nervous drive. Now these seats are supposed to be adjustable, but I can't see where the lever is for them, and they do fold forward to give you access into the back of the car, which is a little bit tight. Ouch. Okay, well once you're in, it's not so bad. Again, the headroom is impressive. It's got lovely headlining. It's quite light and airy in here because these big square windows open quite well, same as the front ones really. Slide them and lock them. Well, not very locked. Even in the lock position, they still slide. So security very much not a thing. The seat back is completely vertical and it is literally the back of the car. You know, people joke about when you sit in the front of a Volkswagen camper van, you are the crash zone. It's even worse here. I'm looking out at the tread of the spare wheel through the back window, and that's all there is between me and the rest of the world. No cup holders, no tea shelf, no speakers, no courtesy lights, no, nothing. This is the wrong kind of car for that kind of entertainment. Let's try and get out now. Oh boy. Right, I'm vaguely nervous because this is everything in reverse. There's no ignition key, just click the ignition switch over, advanced thingy somewhere in the middle, not too much of the choky thing, push the button, which actually hurts your hand a little bit. Come on car, here we go. Right, it's alive. Give it a bit more throttle for a second longer. Hit wake up, ignition light go out. And don't forget, the accelerator is the one in the middle. Right, so it's kind of the opposite of left foot braking going on here. Right. Oh, there we go. It's a transmission brake, by the way. That's first, okay, good. Doesn't help that we're starting on a hill with a busy load of traffic outside, and the car keeps wanting to stall. And where's second, I wonder? There we go. This is really odd. It's very much like I'm trying to accelerate by braking. It's really weird. There's no mirrors, so I've no idea what's going on behind me. Don't pull out in front of me, I've got cable brakes, you moron. Oh God, brakes, brakes, brakes. This is terrifying, honestly. It's a dog leg first, and the accelerator is in the middle, and the brake is on the right. And it's a crash box as well. This is very much against me in terms of chances of, well, surviving this drive. And I can't find reverse. I don't know how fast I'm going, but it's not very. Oh, hang on, it says 30 miles an hour.
The steering is not as vague as a lot of pre-war cars I've driven. It's actually quite accurate, really, and it's a lot lighter than you think, but then there's not a lot of weight over the front axle.
This will be a short drive today. I'm going to dub an awful lot of this afterwards because this is taking all my concentration to keep this thing going. I'm not really in a position to talk about what's happening in terms of history and stuff right now. Just that constant remembering the brake is the one on the right. It's taking all my mental powers right now. And coming out of a corner, pushing the middle pedal.
Of course, there are no indicators, so I'm having to use hand signals, which is tricky with this tiny little window.
Okay, I'm going to pull in here, let this car go past. Oh my word, the brakes are awful. Oh God. There's reverse, I found reverse now, that's good.
The chassis was designed and built by Morris Commercial Cars, which used to be E.G. Wrigley, a Morris component supplier who went into receivership after tooling up to build a mass-market car, so it was snapped up by William Morris. With independent suspension and 26-inch wheels, the ride's not that bad. It does bounce around a little bit, but all these old cars do tend to do that, and these tyres are so skinny, it doesn't really want to make you throw it into any corners.
First, okay, so reverse is where first gear should be. So backwards, around the corner, and brake. Oh my word, this is so much harder to drive than an Austin 7.
In 1930 they built 14,264 of these, and that's out of a total of 39,087 for the entire production run. And the Austin 7 is vague and bouncy and it rattles and it's slow and the brakes aren't great, but everything is kind of traditional and how you expect it to be, even though it's a slightly older car. So getting into it is an adventure, and it's more of a fun adventure because you kind of know what you're meant to be doing and you can understand it enough because it's familiar. This, although it's a more advanced car and the ride is better and the steering's better and it doesn't rattle anywhere near as much at all, in fact it feels quite well put together. Those mixed up pedals and the fact you have to use advanced retard on it as well. This just makes it all so hard work to drive. I will be actually quite glad when I've parked it safely. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, please hit like, please hit subscribe. If you've enjoyed this, share it with your friends on Facebook. If I haven't made it to the end, then please send donations to charity, don't send flowers. See you again next time, I hope.